Walking the Camino for many people is a big thing. It's a big challenge. It's a great thing to have achieved. It takes a bit of time out of your life. Why then do so many people walk it again? That's what we're talking about this week. So many people will walk one of the Camino routes and that'll be it. They'll say, I've done that, much like they've been on a holiday somewhere. I've been there. Why would I want to go back again? Many people will finish their Camino or even part way through their first one. They'll be thinking, I want to do this again. Maybe I'll walk a different route. Maybe I'll walk the same one. Why is that? I'd love to hear your comments down below if you have walked, one or more Caminos. But let me just share some thoughts from my own perspective. I mean, this is just my personal perspective. Why people keep going back again and again and again. And I know people who probably walked 15 or 20 Caminos, all different routes. So why is it? Well, from my perspective, I love the freedom. I have a very busy working life. I run a couple of businesses. I work 6 days a week at least, long hours. I don't really get a chance for proper breaks. In non-COVID times, we might have a week here or a week there, sort of having a break, but I never really unwind. And in 2015, I had my first opportunity to walk a Camino. I took 40 days to walk the Camino Frances. And I have to say, it was life-changing. And it was probably the only time in my life that I had been totally unplugged, free from responsibilities, to just switch off and live a very simple lifestyle. Just walk, eat, sleep, repeat. You've probably heard that a few times. And I just love that freedom. And the lack of day-to-day pressures and responsibilities. So that's what takes me back. It's an opportunity to, I guess, just unwind and recharge, and what better place to do it. And I haven't found any other type of pursuit or any other place in the world that can deliver that for me. So I have to traipse halfway around the world from here in Sydney, Australia to go and repeat the thing. People say, oh, but can't you walk in Australia? No, it's just not the same. It's like, what's the point? The Camino is a very, very different thing altogether. Okay, so that's one in my mind, is freedom. The next one is probably connection. I love the way that we can connect with other pilgrims walking the Camino, with people from so many different countries, different walks of life. And of course, depending which Camino you're walking, you may come across a lot of people or just a few people. But on my first Camino, I think I've said this before on one of the other videos, I probably ended up recognizing about 100 people. So this was the Camino Frances, quite a busy one. I would recognize 100 faces day to day, sort of over the weeks. And I would probably know 50 people by name. And there'd probably be 25 people that I would regularly stop and have meals with, and that kind of thing. And people often call the Camino speed dating on steroids for that reason. You form very quick and deep bonds with people because you're on this same journey. You're all heading literally down the same path to the same place, to a degree with a similar purpose. And people just connect so much, so differently, and on so many different levels. I just love that way of connecting. I can't think of anything that is like that in the way that you connect with people. Maybe there is. Another one might be the culture. People just love the culture in Spain. I love the countryside. I love the historic buildings. I just love the sense of history. Walking along, Camino trails that pilgrims have walked on for 1,000 years. I love the architecture. I come from Europe originally, so I miss that history, that rich history in the architecture. Living here in Australia, the European history here is really only sort of 250 years old, so we don't have that. All elements of the culture I love. I love the country, love the Spanish people. I was going to say I love the food. The food's pretty good. I wouldn't say Spanish cuisine is like in the top 10 in the world, but it's pretty good. And if you look around, you'll find some really delicious food along the way. I suppose another element, and I kind of touched on this with the freedom, is it's just the ability to unplug. I haven't ever done anything else in my life which allows me that sense of just disconnecting and just being with me. On my very first Camino, I have to say, I felt very selfish doing it, because I guess all my life has been, working hard, kind of a purpose that was centered around others, sense of duty and service and so on. Walking a Camino was such a new experience for me because it was just about me. And it's the first time I'd ever really done anything just for me. So that I find immensely rich and rewarding. And I suppose the last element might be, and again, this is just my perspective, probably for the challenge. I think 90% of people would find walking a Camino a challenge in some way or another, emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I think that's part of the attraction, that we set ourselves, quite big goals in a way. I mean, for those of you who are thinking of walking a longer Camino or have walked a longer Camino, my first one was the Camino Frances from Saint-Jean. So, to just set out and walk 800 kilometers, 500 miles, that's like a big thing. And, there's an immense sense of achievement in just being able to do it. But that sense of achievement almost crops up every day, I think, when you overcome difficulties along the way and challenges. And there's always challenges, whether it be trying to find accommodation or dealing with injuries or, whatever it might be, dealing with the sort of emotional highs and lows. I think that's really rewarding and satisfying to overcome those challenges as well. And again, you could probably do that in other ways, but I think the challenges that you deal with on a Camino are pretty unique in that element. It's just you dealing with them. So I certainly enjoy that aspect. I mean, if I was to try and rank those, I think for me it's the ability to just totally unplug and just be close to nature, not have a worry in the world for a few weeks, and just enjoy a degree of peace and quiet and connection with others, when you want it. I think that's probably the reason that I go back. So I'm a relative newcomer to being a Camino addict. I've only walked 3 Caminos. There are people who have walked dozens, and I came to it late in life, so I'm not sure how many I'll walk. Maybe I'll get up to about 10. But if I could, I would walk one every year without doubt. It's just an amazing experience. So if you've walked more than one Camino, or maybe if you've only walked one Camino, why did you walk it? Comment down below. And if you walked more than one, what brought you back? What was the main reason, or 1 or 2 reasons that brought you back? And if you're one of those addicts who've walked a dozen, what is it that keeps bringing you back? I'd love to hear. But anyway, thanks for listening to my ramblings, and hope you enjoy the other videos on this channel, and look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.